Welcome to Secret Witness, the channel where we uncover crime, betrayal, and the darkest people try to hide.
Every day we bring you gripping true crime-inspired stories that will shock you, haunt you, and make you question what really happens behind closed doors. So before we dive into today's chilling story, make sure you subscribe and ring the bell icon, so you'll never miss a single twist. Beneath the moss-draped oaks and historic charm of Savannah, Georgia, lies a story so shocking it sent ripples through the city's tight-knit community. Mark and Lillian Reynolds seem to have it all: a loving marriage, a cozy home, and dreams of a bright future. But in the fall of 2022, one night at a scandalous elite party turned their world upside down. A husband's rage, a wife's secrets, and a crime that no one saw coming. Welcome to Secret Witness True Crime Stories, where we unravel the darkest corners of human nature. Today we dive into a tale of betrayal, jealousy, and a deadly act that shattered lives. Buckle up. This story is a roller coaster of twists that will leave you questioning how well you really know those closest to you. The perfect facade. Mark Reynolds, 38, and Lillian Reynolds, 36, were the kind of couple that inspired envy. High school sweethearts from Savannah, they married in 2007 in a charming ceremony at Forsyth Park, surrounded by family and friends. Mark, with his short brown hair, dark eyes, and steady demeanor, was the dependable type, a man who worked hard and valued loyalty. Lillian, with her long blonde hair, vibrant green eyes, and infectious laugh, was the creative soul, teaching art part-time at a local community center and dreaming of opening her own gallery. Their modest suburban home, with its white picket fence and blooming azaleas, was a hub for neighborhood gatherings, barbecues, game nights, and holiday parties. To everyone they were the picture of happiness. But beneath the surface, tension simmered. Mark's job as an operations manager at Caldwell Enterprises, a leading logistics firm in Savannah, consumed his life. The company's owner, Victor Caldwell, 45, was a larger-than-life figure, charismatic, wealthy, and known for his opulent lifestyle. Victor's riverfront mansion, with its grand columns and sprawling gardens, was the talk of Savannah's elite. Mark admired Victor but felt the weight of his relentless demands. Long hours and constant pressure to prove himself left Mark exhausted, and he began to feel like a cog in Victor's empire. Lillian, meanwhile, was restless. Her art teaching brought joy, but she craved more: a chance to mingle with Savannah's cultural elite, to have her paintings noticed. She started attending gallery openings and social events, often without Mark, who was too tired from work. Friends noticed Lillian's growing fascination with the city's high society, but Mark dismissed it as her chasing her dreams. Still, he couldn't ignore the late nights, the new designer clothes, or the way Lillian's eyes lit up when she talked about her new connections. The first seeds of doubt were planted, but Mark pushed them aside, trusting the love they'd built over 15 years. The invitation that changed everything. In early October 2022, Victor Caldwell invited Mark to an exclusive networking event at his mansion. Victor framed it as an opportunity for top employees to mingle with Savannah's elite, business tycoons, artists, and influencers. Mark, swamped with a looming project deadline, declined politely, not wanting to navigate the social scene. He encouraged Lillian to go instead, thinking it could boost her art career. "You're always talking about meeting the right people," he said with a tired smile. Lillian's eyes sparkled with excitement, and she promised to represent them both. That evening, October 12, 2022, Mark finished his work earlier than expected. Feeling guilty for missing so many of Lillian's events, he decided to surprise her at Victor's party. He drove to the mansion, a palatial estate on the Savannah River, its windows aglow with golden light. Luxury cars, Bentleys, Porsches, lined the driveway, and the air buzzed with the hum of wealth and power. Mark, in his work polo and jeans, felt out of place as he stepped inside. The mansion was a labyrinth of opulence: crystal chandeliers, marble floors, and waiters gliding with champagne flutes. The crowd was a mix of Savannah's elite, dressed in designer gowns and tailored suits. Mark scanned the rooms, searching for Lillian. The atmosphere felt charged, with hushed conversations and knowing glances. He overheard whispers about Victor's parties being more than they seemed, rumors of exclusive, boundary-pushing activities in private rooms. Unease crept into Mark's chest, but he pressed on. In a dimly lit lounge he found her. Lillian, radiant in a sleek black dress, stood close to Victor, her hand resting lightly on his arm as they laughed over cocktails. Victor, with his slick black hair and commanding presence, leaned in, his smile too intimate for Mark's liking. The sight was a gut punch. Mark's heart raced as he pushed through the crowd, his voice trembling as he called out, "Lillian, what's going on?" Lillian's face fell, but she quickly recovered, laughing it off. "Just networking, Mark. Don't make a scene." Victor smirked, placing a hand on Mark's shoulder. "Relax, Reynolds. It's just a party." The room seemed to close in. Guests stared, and Mark felt humiliated, like an outsider in his wife's world. He demanded Lillian leave with him, but she refused, saying she'd be home later. Victor's dismissive tone, "Go home, Mark. Let her have fun," ignited a spark of rage. Mark stormed out, the image of Lillian and Victor burned into his mind. The descent into darkness. Back at home, Mark paced the living room, a bottle of whiskey in hand. The clock ticked past midnight, then 2 a.m., then 4 a.m. His mind spiraled. Lillian's laugh, Victor's smirk, the whispers of the party. Was she having an affair? Had she been lying to him all along? Mark's insecurities, his long hours, his modest salary compared to Victor's wealth, gnawed at him. He felt like a failure, unable to compete with his boss's charisma and power. When Lillian finally returned at 5:30 a.m., her makeup smudged and dress wrinkled, Mark was a powder keg. The argument was explosive. Lillian admitted she'd been attending Victor's parties for months, drawn by the promise of art world connections. "It's not what you think," she insisted. "Victor's helping me get my work noticed." But her words rang hollow. Mark's voice shook as he demanded to know if she was sleeping with Victor. Lillian's hesitation was all he needed. "You've been lying to me," he roared. The fight moved to the kitchen. Lillian, defensive, shouted that Mark was suffocating her with his jealousy. "You're never here, Mark. You don't get it." In a blind rage, Mark grabbed a kitchen knife from the counter. What happened next was a blur. He stabbed Lillian multiple times, her screams fading into silence as she collapsed. Blood pooled on the tile floor, and Mark stood frozen, the knife slipping from his hand. The reality of what he'd done crashed over him like a tidal wave. Lillian was dead. The crime scene and escape. Mark's panic took over. He stumbled out of the house, leaving the front door ajar and blood trailing to the driveway. A neighbor, awakened by the screams, peeked through her window and saw Mark's truck speeding away. She called 911, her voice trembling as she reported a disturbance. Savannah police arrived at 6:15 a.m. to a horrific scene, Lillian's body in the kitchen, surrounded by overturned chairs and broken glass. The knife, still on the floor, bore Mark's fingerprints. Blood spatter analysis suggested a frenzied attack, not premeditated but born of raw emotion. Mark drove aimlessly, his mind a fog of guilt and fear. He ended up at the Savannah River, staring at the water as dawn broke. He considered turning himself in but couldn't face the consequences. Instead, he checked into a rundown motel on the city's outskirts, paying cash to avoid a paper trail. He sat in his room replaying the night, Lillian's betrayal, Victor's arrogance, his own loss of control. For a moment he thought about running, starting over somewhere far away. But the police were already closing in. The investigation deepens. Detectives, led by seasoned investigator Detective Sarah Monroe, pieced together the timeline. Neighbors confirmed the Reynolds argument was loud enough to wake the street. Mark's truck was spotted on traffic cameras near the river, and a motel clerk recognized him from a police alert. By noon on October 13, 2022, Mark was arrested without a struggle. In interrogation he broke down, confessing to the murder. "I saw her with him and I lost it," he sobbed. "I loved her but she broke me." But the case was far from simple. Detective Monroe dug into Victor Caldwell's role. Victor, suave and cooperative, denied any affair with Lillian. "She was a talented artist," he said. "I was mentoring her." But phone records showed frequent late-night texts between them, flirtatious but not explicit. Party guests confirmed Victor's events were notorious for their exclusive nature, rumors of swinging, drug use, and power plays among Savannah's elite. Lillian had attended at least 5 such parties, often without Mark, under the guise of networking. The investigation also revealed Mark's struggles at work. Colleagues described him as loyal but overlooked, passed over for promotions in favor of Victor's inner circle. Mark's resentment had grown, and co-workers recalled him muttering about Victor's golden boy status. Detectives wondered if Mark's rage was aimed at Victor as much as Lillian. Was the murder a spontaneous act, or had Mark's bitterness been simmering for years? The trial, a city divided. Mark's trial in June 2023 was a media frenzy. Savannah's residents were split. Some saw Mark as a heartbroken husband pushed to the brink, others as a monster who let jealousy consume him. Prosecutors argued Mark's attack was a deliberate act of rage, pointing to the multiple stab wounds as evidence of intent. The defense countered that Mark was a man betrayed, manipulated by Victor's influence and Lillian's secrecy. They painted Victor as a predator who used his wealth to lure vulnerable women like Lillian into his orbit. Mark took the stand, his voice breaking as he described the moment he saw Lillian with Victor. "I felt like nothing," he said. "Like I wasn't enough for her, for anyone." He admitted to the murder but claimed temporary insanity, overwhelmed by betrayal. Lillian's family, devastated, sat in the courtroom, clutching her old sketchbooks. Her sister, Emily, testified about Lillian's ambition and how Victor's promises of art world fame had dazzled her. Victor's testimony was a turning point. Polished and confident, he denied any wrongdoing, insisting his parties were just business. But under cross-examination he faltered, unable to explain the flirtatious texts or why Lillian was a frequent guest. The jury grew skeptical, but with no direct evidence of an affair, Victor walked away unscathed. After 3 weeks, the jury deliberated for 10 hours. They found Mark guilty of second-degree murder, sentencing him to 25 years in prison without parole. The verdict left Savannah polarized. Some felt justice was served, others believed Victor's influence escaped scrutiny. The aftermath and lingering questions. Mark's conviction didn't close the case's wounds. Lillian's death left a void in Savannah's art community, where her students created a mural in her honor, depicting her love for color and light. Her family struggled to forgive Mark, grappling with the loss of a vibrant woman whose dreams were cut short. Mark, now in a Georgia state prison, spends his days in silence, haunted by the night he lost everything. Victor Caldwell, facing public backlash, sold his mansion and moved to Miami, where he continued his lavish lifestyle. Rumors swirled that he was hosting similar parties, but no charges were ever filed. Detectives privately admitted the case felt unresolved. Victor's role remained a gray area, a shadow over the investigation. The Reynolds home was sold, its new owners unaware of the tragedy that unfolded there. Neighbors still whisper about the couple who seemed so perfect, their story a cautionary tale about the dangers of secrets and unchecked emotions. Savannah, with its historic beauty, hides many such stories, but few as heartbreaking as this. The bigger picture. This isn't just a story of one man's rage or one woman's secrets. It's a reminder that betrayal can unravel even the strongest bonds. True crime stories like Mark and Lillian's show us how quickly love can turn to tragedy when trust is broken. What would you do if you discovered a loved one's hidden life? Could you forgive, or would rage take over? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more gripping tales from Secret Witness True Crime Stories. We'll see you in the next story, where the truth is always waiting to be unveiled.